My name is Kroontje. I'm here to tell you about San Lorenzo Gold. We are a relatively newcomer to the party here and have had some drilling success recently. So we've just started another drilling campaign, and I look forward to telling you about San Lorenzo. Normally, or as normal, some of my content will be forward-looking, of course, so I would reference the forward-looking cautionary statements on our website. So in today's presentation, since I don't think everybody is fully up to speed with San Lorenzo, I'm going to take a few moments to tell you about San Lorenzo, the company, and then Salvador, our flagship property. And I promise to get to the second part quickly, which is the more interesting part. So as a company overview, we have 80 million shares out. We have 2.8 million options, which is less than 40% of what's allowable under the plan. We have about $1 million in cash right now and about $1 million under a credit facility and debt of 2.1 million, half of which is convertible. And our flagship property is Salvador. That's located in Chile, very close to the town of Copiapó, which is about an hour and a half flight north of Santiago, Chile. Management directors are shown here. Really, I would just focus your attention on the top left, which is Terry Walker, a seasoned geologist living in Chile. He's been there for 30 years, very familiar with the Chilean exploration system and the mega porphyry belt that we find ourselves in Chile. So let's talk now about the property, which is called Salvador. It's in and amongst giants, really. I'd like to go through these points, but we are 100% owned claims located in Chile's mega porphyry belt. We don't have NSRs, we don't have third-party royalties. We're about 9,000 hectares or about 90 square kilometers. What's important here is that we are quite infrastructure rich. What do I mean by that? Well, we have paved roads to the property. We have high voltage power that goes right across the north boundary of the property. There's a river running right north of the property. And we're close to two towns, Diego del Magro and El Salvador, which have mining workforces or labor forces and the equipment you need to undertake mining. We're at a reasonably low elevation of between 1,400 and 2,100 meters of elevation. We have 5 targets identified. I will go into those in a minute. And I'd point out that this is not a property that's being recycled. We're the first people to be drilling here. We're doing the exploration. We're not recycling old holes and high grading them and telling anybody what we've got from that. Every time we drill here virtually, we're finding alteration and good mineralization. We're funded for the next round of drilling, and we're proximal to the El Salvador mine. That's a Codelco-run mine that's produced 65 billion pounds of copper and 5.5 million ounces of gold. And we're also very near the Porteria smelter, which is in operation as of today. So there are our targets: Cerro Blanco, which is a porphyry target, Arco de Oro, an epithermal vein system, Caballo Muerto, and Tres Amigos. One hasn't been drilled yet, that's Caballo South. Now, on the bottom of the slide, I'd invite you to have a look at it on our website, what those grades are, but I'll get into those as we go along. So let's start with Cerro Blanco, which is on the on the eastern side. This is a very interesting target. This is what it looks like. Coincidental that we're following Morgan, but we see a lithocap, which isn't uncommon in porphyry deposits in Chile or other places of the world. This is, there's too much on here to kind of take in, but we'll get through this target when I get to our drilling program that's coming up, which focuses on this Cerro Blanco target and the Arco de Oro target, which is on the the west side. It's a 5-kilometer long trend of epithermal parallel intersecting swarming veins that looks like this. Now, again, there's lots on here, but when you see the red lines, every one of those is over top of existing workings that go down to 2 or 3 meters of depth. You can see how much there is there. Again, there's some intercepts there, but we'll get to that a little later. Cell 125, we just finished drilling. We intersected 3 different zones there. In total, 35 meters grading 4.83 grams of gold. Another hole I'm highlighting here is 4 of 22, which was 4th hole in the 22 program, so people know what that means. 1 of 25 is the first hole in 25. The 4 of 22 hole was interesting because we targeted it to intercept the vein at depth. So we crossed the vein at about 300 meters of true vertical depth. And you can see what we got, 22 meters of 4.74 grams of gold and 6.5 of half-ounce gold, including a meter and a half of 2-ounce gold. I show this because this is what we call our core zone. We're going to move on to a different area in Arco de Oro in a moment. But if you took our core zone where we've drilled so far, we've got a kilometer of strike length. If you take just the 2.5 meters in the middle of it, and all of it is much wider than that, it averages 17.6 grams per ton. Well, if you do the calculation, and if you were able to say that it went down to 300 meters in depth over that entire distance, which we can't, we have one hole into that, there's your first 1,000,000 ounces right there. So I want to show you 2 more, Caballo Muerto, which is a porphyry target again. It's situated kind of in the center of the property, and this is what it looks like. Now, we haven't really gone after this yet, but I just would bring your attention to the middle intercept that we got in our discovery hole of 1.44 grams of gold over 112 meters. We don't intend to be going here on this next drilling program either. And then last, we have a Tres Amigos, we call it, which is a copper epithermal vein system that we drilled a hole into in 16. You'll see what we got there, 34 meters of 1.5% copper and 6 meters of over 5% copper. What's interesting here is that where you see that shown in white, that is artisanal workings again that go down a few meters, and it goes all the way to the river valley to the north, and that's 2 kilometers of strike. This has a potential for being a very serious system as well. But now let's get to the good stuff. I promised to get here quick. The drilling program we're about to start. In fact, we're mobilizing. So I showed you the Cerro Blanco feature earlier, the lithocap. You don't see it in this picture as clearly, but we show the 3 holes that we drilled in our program here earlier this year, January, February of 2025. And you can see some intercepts, but here's what's interesting. If you look on the right side of the screen, you see those are our IP lines. And you see at the top C2-1 and C2-2. That's part of only 2 lines we had to start with. The other one was what's called C1. Well, the northern line had a break in it because of topography. But where we drilled 1 and 2 holes here, and the 3rd here. But these 2 holes are shown on the IP line. And you'll see what our intercepts were, 87 meters or 85 meters at one point, just over a gram, also 153 meters here. But moving on, this was the line, this was our IP line on the other section here, C2-2, and that falls right here. Well, we didn't get to drill it because the topography is tough and we didn't have a budget to drill or to build the access road. However, since then, we ran an intermediate line, this one, C5, and that's what we got. Now, I think it's important to note that those are 100 meters apart, each one of those lines up top. So we're looking at half a kilometer of IP anomaly. And what's interesting is the IP seems to work for us to find mineralization. So, but if you're going to take something out of this part on Cerro Blanco, I'd like to point out the following. I showed you this line and the hole we drilled here. I showed you the best anomaly here, which was on our old line as well. It hasn't been drilled. But here is where the proposed first hole is. It's going to head to the east. But if you draw a line going right through there, you come to this box. And that's what you see on the river valley, from the river valley, looking at the side of the hill. That's a strike length of 1.7 kilometers. We have no business trying to say it continues on through there, but dare to dream. What I do want to say, though, is that we are targeting very significant, our targets are very significant in size. So if we move on instead to the northwest area, which is from this proposed hole heading west, here's where we drilled, which is shown here. And then this is what was identified in our expansion IP program. And so we're going to test this and this. We need to go a little deeper. I wouldn't be too concerned. IP computer software tends to close things off. So we need to test this to depth. But I want to point out that you're looking like at 1 kilometer of width here. So these are, again, very serious big targets that we're going after. Okay, so I'm going to now slip over to Arco de Oro. You'll remember that I showed you the core area right here. We call it the core zone. Well, in our last IP survey, we ran D8 and D5. Those are both IP lines. Well, D8 is 3.9 kilometers away from our core zone. However, there are artisanal workings, shallow ones, all the way along here. So what did we get? We got this. So on this line, we're going to drill here. We're going to test this system. We're going to test this system. And this is undetermined as yet. And then here's line D5. There's the anomaly we identified. We're going to test it. But again, if you look at the width of the whole thing, you notice that it's over 0.5 kilometer in width. So to summarize, we have exciting targets. They're big targets. We are following up on successes that we've had so far. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to leave you with a quote from Terry Walker, our VPX in Chile, for you to read. I'll leave it on the screen for just a moment. And I'd like to thank you all for coming today. Thanks.